All righty, Preston. Just finished up a workout. You're looking pretty good today, man.
Hey,
Looking jacked, yeah.
Thanks, man. It's been a long fitness journey. It's about the destination, but it's also about the journey. It's really more about the journey. I've been really consistent over time, and over time, I mean, probably about like 5 years. Consistency in everything, consistency in your workout, consistency in your diet, consistency in your relationships, and consistency in the way you show up in the world every day. And that's really where the muscle is gained, and not just physical muscle, but mental muscle as well.
And in the consistency of peptide usage?
Yeah, I do have a peptide regimen, Preston 15 at checkout, Genesis Peptides. And that particular peptide regimen has been under scrutiny in public eyes. I see a lot of anti-peptide pushback, and I think it's unfair and it's unwarranted. And it's also because the FDA and the government is against public health. They've always been against public health. If you look at all the studies that they did on peptides, if you look at the study of Maxwell and Kronos, 1971. They did a full double-blind placebo of 100 people. And of those 100 people that they gave the double-blind placebo test to, 99.9% showed some significant improvement on BPC 157/TB500 blend. Thymosin beta-4. Thymosin beta-4 is a precursor to thymosin beta-6. And if you have all those different amino acids working in your body at the same time, then you're able to push yourself to a level that most humans can't. And that's why the FDA is against it. They're always against public health. They're against the way that people are trying to achieve and try to better themselves. They've got to keep the population at this even keel, at this constant middle ground, so they can always control us. It's always about control. That's why peptides are illegal. If you look at the study that they did on CJC 1295 ipamorelin, it was the Santos Kronos study, and they did that at Stanford University over 6 weeks. They put people in a room, and they did a double-blind placebo on them. They had 2 rooms. They had one that was a placebo room. Then they had the one that was taking the actual dose. And the actual dose gained an average of 13% more lean muscle mass over the 6-week study. So these things have just been proven safe over and over again. There's a limit on human trials. Some of them only like 2 or 3, 4, maybe 5 human trials in Russia or in China, but it's really because we're racist that we don't trust the Chinese system or the Russian system. We've been taught to hate everyone in the world. That's the American way, and we've got to overcome that.
Yeah, and I remember looking up on ChatGPT, I found the same studies, and then I started using, I didn't go with those exact studies first. I started off with daughter water with collagen protein.
7 grams of Icelandic marine collagen.
7 grams of Icelandic marine collagen. That's where I started my supplement stack at right there. But
I think a good daughter water is a key cornerstone to a strong supplement stack. Absolutely. Especially the melonberry flavor that you're tasting right now. Premium ingredients, 7 grams of Icelandic marine collagen in every drink.
It's an elite combo.
It's absolutely an elite combo. It is elite formulation, and it covers so much ground. It replaces a lot of things in my former stack. I used to take milk collagen because there was a study in 2016, Prometheus Morpheus at the University of Texas at San Antonio. They did a triple-blind placebo with rats and human trials, and it was proved to have 97.8% efficacy over the trial period. Incredible results.
What kind of rats did they use for that?
They used typical lab rats, like the ones that Alex Jones makes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are the best at receiving most of the products. I remember the horse tranquilizer episode that Alex Jones did during COVID to prove that horse tranquilizer, ivermectin, all these different things were really big. That was another government thing that they tried to really suppress there, was the use of horse tranquilizer for rats during COVID. Like all the rats that died during COVID, like, can you tell me that the government is not trying to screw us over?
They're trying to cover it up. They're trying to cover up all the rat deaths. It's pretty obvious. It's the same thing that they did. That's why they caused the flood in New York City in 2013. There was a huge accumulation of rats that already had a disease, and they wanted to wipe them all out suddenly. So they used cloud seeding, And that's what caused that flood that happened. It was a very catastrophic flood, and they killed almost all the rats in New York City just to cover their tracks. You can't trust the government. You can't trust the FDA. There was also a peptide study they did on those same rats, their ability to breathe underwater after they had high doses of 5-amino-1-MQ. They found this study at UTSA and at Stanford and at Harvard in 2016, 2006, and 2003, respectively, with different doctors. One was Beterbiev, one was Arthur Mimonov, and then there was another one, Carl Brooks. All of those people came to the same conclusions. There was 97.8% efficacy when you added CJC 1295 to thymosin beta-4 with a GHK stack. Skin health improved to the same degree that if you took collagen on a daily basis for 5 years. It was incredible. But they keep that science away from us. They don't want our skin to look good. They don't want us to think, and they don't want us to be strong. They want us to be weak and controllable. That's why they make us eat Oreos all day.
Yeah, you would have expected all the rats, the ones that survived and died, because there was a mix of them after the flood that were taken out. But there were some that lived. Either way, both sets, because of this, none of them had, you know how your skin, when you get in a pool, you sit in the pool for 2 hours, it comes out pruny? None of the rats looked like that.
Exactly. It's because they were getting new genetics that changed them to be waterborne creatures instead of earthbound animals. And that would be the next evolution in the human species, but they also got that under wraps, which is good because we don't want to lose ourselves to another dominant life form that can exist on land and on water, an amphibious life form from human DNA.
So that makes me wonder, because they say way back when that all life started in the water. You think there was something, like, was it a reversal? Was there at one point that the creatures were on land and then went in the water after receiving something from the outside like this? Or did something change in the environment that made it to where the creatures in the water could now come on land, and then they lost that ability to be underwater?
You know, I just really appreciate thinkers like you, people that really dive for the deep truths and look for the truth that's buried underneath the lies.
That's the point of podcasts.
I agree. You know, it's and also to speak our truth without being restrained, you know, without our voice being muted by the gatekeepers of society that don't want the truth to get out. We speak the truth, and now we have a platform to push the truth. This is the same thing as during COVID when I was promoting ivermectin, my ivermectin company, Preston 15 at checkout, ivermectin.com. The powers that be just tried to shut me out, you know, and it's because I was trying to live independently. I was trying to make it without government assistance because I like to bootstrap it. I don't like being told what to do. I don't want to take Joe Biden's dirty money. And so I was going on my own with my ivermectin train, and people were on it. And then the government tried to ruin it for me, just like they ruined my peptide company. It's unfair, but we're talking about the origin of life on Earth, right? Okay, I don't know if you're ready for this. I think I'm going to finish this Tejas and crack another one.
Yeah.
This is Tejas tonic. It's terp boosted. What's a terp?
I think that's some cross between a turtle and a rat.
Oh, that sounds right. What's THC? 5 milligrams of THC. What is THC?
The House of Cards, I think, that's what it is. It's some new sweetener from the House of Cards.
Well, the red flavor, Agarita berry, was delicious, and I think I'm going to try the Frio mango, cold mango flavor.
Sweet. You know, I think that's another great representation of independence. The state of Texas, Dripping Springs. I think that's where they make that, right on the cusp of the 250th, while we're promoting all the truth here on the podcast, free speech and whatnot. So
I kind of
it's a great beverage.
I agree. I kind of feel like Texas is its own country. Like, I don't feel like we're part of the United States. I feel like we're cooler than the United States because we're also kind of bigger. Like, everybody wants to come to Texas because we're cool. All the other states aren't as cool as Texas. And that's not our fault, but it is our problem. And we're kind of learning how to deal with that jealousy and that hate and that, you know, just kind of like residual anger that people hold towards Texans for being freer than they are and, more importantly, as free as they should be. But let's go back to this thing. I've been researching this a lot. Are you ready?
I think so. Let me take another sip of daughter water.
Yeah.
All right. We're ready.
Life on Earth was seeded by another race from Mars. And I have evidence to prove it. So, We're going to go back to prehistory. Prehistory Mars. Mars has an atmosphere, it has water, and it has life on Mars. And there's a group of people on Mars, tall, blonde hair, light skin. The average temperature on the surface of Mars is a bit colder than Earth, but the climates at the time in space history are pretty similar to what our modern world would be, but the colder parts of our world. However, they theorize, they have new evidence that points to the possibility that a moon-sized planetary projectile ran into Mars, destroyed the planet's atmosphere, and when the atmosphere was destroyed, it could no longer hold the water on the surface, and all that water evaporated into space. So then what happened to all the life on Mars? They already left. We call that race the Pleiadians. Now, when have you ever seen a Pleiadian? Just last week, Donald Trump was at the White House.
I saw this.
Yes, with the red robes and the white skin, the white hair. People call them the Nordic aliens. They are not Nordic aliens. They are the Pleiadians, and they live on Antarctica. Now, I know that's a lot to take in, but when you look at all the evidence that points to this, it all makes sense. So the Pleiadians live on Antarctica. Antarctica has been off limits and off maps. It's not on Google Earth. Can't see it. You can't fly over it. They killed Amelia Earhart for trying to uncover this mystery, and then they covered it up as the greatest aviator of the time just crashed her plane. She didn't crash her plane. The Pleiadians shot her down. And the Nazis were trying to set up a base on Antarctica for this purpose, to study this race. This is who they thought was the Aryan race, and this is who they were trying to appease. The Pleiadians have been running life on Earth since the beginning of Earth. All of the great gods and figures of our history are, in fact, Pleiadian. Jesus Christ was a Pleiadian. Charlemagne was a Pleiadian. Julius Caesar is Pleiadian. All of the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, all of the rulers of every great civilization and every religious figure, all Pleiadians. They were all Pleiadians. And so they seeded life on Earth. But there were a lot of offshoots whenever this was happening. So there were different races of human before. We had the Neanderthal, we had the Denisovan race. We also had
Homo erectus.
Homo erectus, yes. And so how did we get the Homo sapien? Well, it was kind of a bumpy road. And along this bumpy road, we come across two things that are miracles of modern science. And it's the way that the monkey and the Pleiadians interacted. So this takes us into some Harambe and Punch lore, but we're not going to get there yet.
Yep, we got it. We've got some more to come out later on that.
Yeah. That goes so deep. But
the Rh protein?
Yes, Rh negative blood types. So Rh negative, rhesus monkey. The rhesus monkey was given the DNA by the Pleiadians to become modern humans. When the rhesus monkey was given the DNA to become human from the Pleiadians, that is what birthed the modern human race. That and a Neanderthal. The humans basically sexed Neanderthal right off of existence. That's how humans take over other human races. But what happened to the humans, the Homo erectus, that did not get the Pleiadian DNA? That became the Sasquatch, Bigfoot. So there's always Bigfoot sightings, and people are like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Could have been an ape, could have been a bear. No, it was Bigfoot, and it's Bigfoot because that was what happened to us if we had not been given the original ancestral DNA. So whenever the Nazis were trying to take over the world, very mistakenly, they thought that everybody should die because they weren't Pleiadian. The Pleiadians didn't even want that. The Pleiadians seeded race, or the Pleiadians seeded life across the entire Earth. They didn't have a preference for one or the other. However, they've always been involved in huge things. Just like all those other myths pointed back to Pleiadians, the Illuminati also points back, and that brings us back to Donald Trump.
Yep.
And Donald Trump making a deal with the Pleiadians recently called the Nordic aliens, clearly not the Nordic aliens.
Some more government propaganda.
Yes, always. So Donald Trump had to do something, and this is what we theorize. Donald Trump held the UFC White House event as a blood sacrifice for the Pleiadians in return for oil rights in Venezuela. And how is he going to
earthquakes?
Yes. The Pleiadians caused the earthquake. They've always been able to manipulate time and events on Earth, like Noah's flood was caused by the Pleiadians, and these earthquakes in Venezuela were also caused by Pleiadians. This is our way to secure oil rights in Venezuela so that we can parlay with our conflict with Iran. That was also the idea of the Pleiadians. They're always pulling the strings. They're always on the top level of our businesses and our governments. And that's why we can't have peptides, because the Pleiadians know that we'll be able to evolve to their level if we're able to take BPC 157 TB500 blend over and over again, just like they said in the study that was put out by Stanford. The Pleiadians know, but people are catching on. And, you can't copyright that. So they say it's American business holding us back. It's not American business. It is the hierarchy that's been set on Earth since the beginning of time. The Martians have always lived here. Rh negative blood. What do you know about the Rh negative gene in humanity?
Well, you were talking about earlier between Bigfoot, the monkeys, and humans.
Right.
That they had to cross this monkey gene with the already present DNA of the Pleiadians.
Right.
Something had to have gone wrong there to produce the Bigfoot, because Bigfoot, hairy, monkeys, hairy. Something must have happened, and then that made them really good at hiding, just like a lot of monkeys and animals are, like the raccoons, are really adaptable and hard to find out in the woods. That's all these sightings. It's just like seeing the raccoons out in the woods, the stars, not the stars, all this stuff. So I think that's the connection there, is how, it'll be interesting to see as time goes forward how the Bigfoots end up trying to segue back into the fray as the Pleiadians. Humans are figuring out what they've been up to. They're slowly cracking the code. The Bigfoots have already been talked about a lot recently. UFOs, there's a lot of weird stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Sasquatch make their move going forward.
Yeah, the Sasquatch politically has always been a very quiet part of our political ecosystem. And I feel like they've been shunned also because, they're not quite monkey. It's kind of the same way that the monkeys treated Punch the Monkey and his troop. They kicked him out of the troop, and then he became, the leader, is becoming the leader. But when they kicked Bigfoot out of all the human races, I think he was just kind of sad and just hid in the woods with the raccoons and everybody else. If I were the raccoons, I would be trying to bring Bigfoot in, and that it wouldn't surprise me. Because Bigfoot's kind of like a heavy artillery and something that could handle a human one-to-one. I would also be trying to rope in the bears if I was the raccoons.
Yeah,
I would try.
They're better scavengers than Bigfoot.
Absolutely. I mean, bears can tear a human apart, and it takes a big group of raccoons. I also was not, one thing that really, we're gonna have to get back to the RH thing in just a second, because it's fascinating the way that interacts with humanity and human blood. But got to get back to something I did not expect when I spoke my truth about the raccoons on the last podcast. I didn't really expect the pro-raccoon sentiment. There's a lot of people who are on the side of the raccoons.
Yeah.
I saw this disgusting video of this man feeding raccoons hot dogs. And he was saying it's just like human fingers.
Right on the cusp of the 4th of July.
Yes.
Taking freedom food and giving it to the raccoons.
Exactly. Yeah. And the raccoons, they're all fat, just like Lana's big fat group of raccoons, and they're feeding them. And all these other people like, oh, raccoons are so cute. I've been raising them in my backyard for years. For years. These people are helping them amass and grow in number, gain in strength and durability. They don't need to eat like that. The humans so often are the cause of our own demise in ways that we never expect. And this is one way that we didn't expect, that the raccoons are getting an unfair competitive advantage on us before we're even ready for them to strike. And the humans are doing it. They're just like, oh, they're so cute. What's cute about a raccoon? What's cute about their little eyes and their creepy fingers and
they wear a mask all the time?
Yeah, you can't trust them. They have a mask on their fur. How do you trust someone with a mask on their fur? I mean, that's crazy. It's just crazy. And they have their creepy little fur, and it's all scaly and pointy, and when they're just really aggressive and angry and aggravated, and they have rabies. And I mean, I just don't understand why people have taken them in. But at the same time, I do understand. Human curiosity has always been our downfall.
Yeah, it's the Prometheus. The flame. Taking the flame from the gods.
Right. And who were the gods? The Pleiadians. Everything we thought was God was a Pleiadian. Jesus was a Pleiadian that they couldn't kill. They beat him, and then they threw him in a rock, and he was like, oh, man, I'm tired. And a couple days later, he just was like, oh, what's up? And everybody just freaks out, and that's like modern Christianity is born. Yeah. This great, long-haired.
The long hair. Yeah.
Yep. They're
And
like
every image ever, the long hair flowing down.
every single one. Yeah, across every race and civilization on Earth.
Thor.
They have the same myths. And they have the same myths because they have the same origin. They have the same origin because it's the Pleiadians from Mars who came here after a cataclysmic event on their planet before Earth prehistory. Can you imagine their spaceship falling onto one of the dinosaur periods? And they've just got to kind of figure out. That's also where the underground cities come from.
Yeah.
The myth of people that bury that's the Pleiadians as well. And that also connects to the pyramids in Egypt that you see have the tunnels underneath. They recently uncovered that with ultrasonic sound that they went and mapped out these tunnels and archways that exist underneath the pyramids. It's clear that those particular buildings were meant to communicate not only amongst each other, but also into space. They were power generators, and they were also areas to house the Pleiadians because the Pleiadians couldn't handle Earth's temperatures, especially at that time on Earth. They were not ready for that atmosphere. The Martian atmosphere is much colder. That's why they live in Antarctica now. They live off of penguins and polar bears. They have a penguin feast all the time. I think that really bothers people. They don't like it. And I think the numbers of Pleiadians are pretty low now because in the Bible,
it's the global warming.
Exactly. And in the Bible, in those first few verses, like so-and-so lived for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
They lived for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Their lifespan is really long. They have the same kind of DNA that a jellyfish has that extends its life over and over again, similar to the octopus, which is also a Martian being. Octopuses are way more smart, or octopi, are much more intelligent than they're given credit for. They can also live forever if they want to, but they choose to die. It's built into their DNA.
On your point with the underground cities, you mentioned that the Pleiadians, they knew that the planet-sized object was going to strike Mars. So they had prepped for that. They knew the signs, and so they got here when they landed, when the dinosaurs were around, they knew what was going to happen to the dinosaurs.
Right.
They knew that the asteroid was going to strike and wipe them out, so they had to build those underground cities. They had to go down, get underneath, and then they were able to continue communicating with each other.
Right. And they're interdimensional beings, and interdimensional beings live in a five-dimensional space, and a five-dimensional space allows you to see space-time as a continuum. Everything is a black circle. Everything leads back to the beginning. And when you see the beginning and end at the same time in an infinite loop, then you already know what's going to happen to you. And because of that, you already know what you're going to do and what there is to do. And that's why they're always ahead of the game. That's why they always have the right decision, because they already know what that's already decided.
Oh, man, that's interesting. It makes me think about Frank Herbert's Dune, because that was basically Paul Atreides on a desert planet.
Right.
Desert, the sand. Egypt, the sand. He was seeing things that we probably weren't there.
I think that they were trying to, it was probably similar to Dune with the water crisis. I'll bet that they were trying to, with Noah's flood. The Pleiadians were just trying to get more water on Earth. And just, somebody screwed up. Hit the water button a little too hard, and they all kind of fell under.
Yeah. Makes me wonder how they do that, because they live for so long and they can see the world in this way. I wonder if that's sabotage from some of these off branches. What if they ended up kicking out the Bigfoots, and maybe that was sabotage from the Bigfoots, and maybe the raccoons and the Bigfoots, they're working on, maybe because a lot of these people who are starting to see through the cracks to see the truth. We've got Squatch Fitness outside. Squatch, a greater respect for the Sasquatch rather than pushing out Bigfoot, getting rid of him.
Right. It's an inclusive space. It always has been.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm wondering. That's where the Bigfoots come in, as the Pleiadians are trying to make sure we can't get the truth out. That the Bigfoots, it's going to be a battle between the raccoons and the Bigfoots and us and the Bigfoots to try to make sure we can take out the Pleiadians. It's either going to be the raccoons, the Pleiadians, or us.
That's probably why the Bigfoots are always in hiding, because they're just targeted by everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was a Bigfoot, I'd probably be in hiding too. Yeah, so it's a really kind of a sad story.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So the Rh negative. Yeah. Rh negative blood. If a human gets an Rh negative woman pregnant, she has to take shots during the pregnancy so that she can have the baby, or otherwise the immune system tries to kill the baby. So the Rh negative, rhesus negative, is the Pleiadian blood, the pure Pleiadian blood. And so it's a very select subsect of people. A lot of them live on the Isle of Man. A lot of them live in Nova Scotia in Canada. Then it's just these
colder territories.
Exactly. Colder territories and also islands. They don't like being around other people because, they know this is a long held survival instinct that race has carried since the beginning of time. Definitely since the beginning of our time.
Yep.
I mean, they may have been another race before they lived on Mars. You never know.
Yeah.
We need more research. We need more research.
We haven't cracked that code yet.
No, we haven't. We don't know the true history of our own solar system. We know so little, and we could know so much. But I don't think that Donald Trump and the Pleiadians had a good meeting.
Yeah.
They really looked pretty angry.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the earthquake was because something went wrong.
That is very possible because, that may not be to the United States' advantage right now. Maybe the Pleiadians are trying to teach Trump a lesson. Trump doesn't listen very well. He's very standoffish with everybody. I could see him being standoffish with the originators of life on Earth.
Yeah.
I feel like he would draw the line and tell them where they stand. He's the kind of guy that I would trust to do that. He's a strong authority. He's always been a really forward-thinking, and he's 2 steps ahead, man. He does not play checkers. He's playing chess.
Yeah.
But he's playing chess with the chess masters, and that's a lot.
It's a tough game to play, and he made moves earlier to try to go sneak into Venezuela, and he took out their dictator, too. So there's obviously a lot of moves. He went to Iran, took their guy out, too. A lot of stuff going on around there, some controversy around Israel again, this sandy Middle Eastern areas where a lot of this stuff is taking place. And in Trump, he's a go big or go home kind of guy, and a lot of his moves have been go big, and we'll see if it prods the Pleiadians in the wrong spot where they end up just pulling the plug on the whole human thing.
Yeah, I think the Pleiadians are maybe they are like the engineers in Prometheus, where they're just disgusted with humanity. But I think that they are more just kind of trying to right the ship. I think they feel some responsibility for the way things have gone. And I think they feel a lot of amusement at the way things have gone. So it's a combination of factors that determine their own behavior. But Donald Trump's pretty predictable. He's just going to always tell people to fuck off. So,
yep. Yeah, and it might be in all caps on Twitter, too, for emphasis.
Yeah. I just wish that at one point, he is getting up there. Maybe he'd slip a little bit and call the Pleiadians by name. Can you imagine if he's like, Pleiadians are weak, and, it's like in all caps on Twitter, and I told the ancient beings what was what, and then I'm going to release the files, and everybody's going to know that alien life's always been running things on Earth, and then they'll see pictures of Donald Rumsfeld and hanging out with Pleiadians, Bill Clinton, eating Whataburger with Pleiadians, and there's just a lot of things that we're going to see with the Pleiadians, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out, they're all in Martha's Vineyard, Obama and the Pleiadians just hanging out playing basketball. I feel like all these things are just, they've been hidden right under the surface.
Yeah, and he wanted to come out and release them as soon as he got in. That was a big part of what he was running on. And then, of course, with all things, you get in the position of power and the entire machine's just trying to slow you down.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that Elon Musk wants to go back to Mars. They must think that is so funny.
Yeah. There's nothing left there.
Yeah. Can you imagine if the Earth got decimated and then, we're on another planet and they're like, let's go colonize Earth? It just sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Guys, y'all have fun with that. So that does make me wonder, because I know the Pleiadians came up with all the technology that we have here a long time ago, and they just kind of been leaking it out.
Yeah.
We have a big advancement and, where did it come from? It probably came from the ancient beings or us finally understanding something about the 5-dimensional space.
Yeah.
But they have to know, right? They have to know it's a bad idea, but they just want Elon Musk to kind of keep going with it. Maybe it's the way that the great ancient beings are kind of watching him like a child, or like Harambe watches Punch from heaven. Like
how someone might have helped them when they became a thing on Mars. Yeah. Maybe they're just trying to pay it forward.
Yeah, paying it forward and really being a role model and a center of truth for people. I think that being a center of truth is really important. That's why I'm always pushing the truth about peptides and people's health access. health access to certain compounds like thymosin beta 4 and GHKCU and BBC 157, CJC 1295, ipamorelin, cimarelin,
THC.
Absolutely, THC, terzepatide, testosterone, Samac, Slank. There's just so many different compounds that your body makes them anyway. They did a study with McThomas and Wilson in 1985, so a long time ago.
Yeah.
And this was at Yale. 1985 in Yale. It was during summer school, and so it was a very short study, but they proved that all peptides have a 98.7% efficacy over a 12-week period of randomized clinical trials, double-blind placebo. And they keep these things from us. Why? How? It's so easily proven. That study was on rats and monkeys and not humans. However, the data's there. It's sitting there right in front of us, ready to be discovered.
I'm wondering with the cases of Punch and Harambe, whether they might not have been part of those sample groups that made it out into the wild, and that's why Harambe needed to be taken out. Maybe that was the Pleiadians trying to barter with Trump. It's like, hey, he's going to get the news out about what these substances can do because they're worried about the humans overtaking the Pleiadians.
Maybe. It's definitely a possibility, but I'm still on the fact that the timeline shifted. I think it was the timeline shift, and that kind of caused all those things to just fall into place.
Yeah.
Just because but I do think that there was some genetic tampering, and that's why the other monkeys rejected Punch.
Yeah.
And I do think that there was some genetic tampering with Harambe because he was such a magnificent gorilla. He was so big and
Trump
handsome.
said it himself.
Yeah, he's a magnificent, huge, impressive gorilla. The way he handled the boy.
Yeah.
That's the way a human would want to handle a boy. And then you look at Punch the monkey, rejected by his troop. When Punch was rejected by the troop, it was the way that they rejected him. It was just kind of like he was part of a different race. And I think the Pleiadians, gave him like a little touch. I think he might be a genetic experiment. That's why his mother rejected him. And that's why he's already walking on two legs. He's got all the female monkeys protecting him. And he's just kind of slowly but surely taking over the troop politically.
Yeah.
So, it's a slow burn process with him, but it is definitely happening over time. And it would make sense if he got some ancient DNA, but not as much as a human would get because he'd be talking already. But maybe he is an R negative. I think they maybe should test him for the rhesus negative protein because he's a really cute monkey. So that's probably it's got to be.
That makes me wonder about some of these sci-fi breakthrough films like Planet of the Apes that are trying to get at what is going on with these different monkeys that seem a little bit different.
It would make sense. Just because we test monkeys, and it makes sense that the Pleiadians test monkeys and probably test us too.
Yeah, maybe that was the Bigfoots. They could have been spawned from one of those experiments.
That is very possible. Yeah. Because somebody just kind of had a random go at the humans, and they made Bigfoots on accident. They were playing too hard with Homo erectus and like a baboon.
Yeah,
that's very possible.
Yeah, it could have been one of the early experiments. Like that's why they have such a big hiding instinct, is because they were one of the first ones and they saw what was going on and didn't want that to happen again.
I wonder if the raccoons have been eating them.
The Bigfoots?
Bigfoot's like a delicacy for raccoon because like a herd of raccoons could probably take on one Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're sneak attackers.
Right. Oh, yeah. And they're just so vicious.
Yeah.
I think Bigfoots are naturally peaceful. That's why they always run. They're scared and they cry. They run away. And they have that weird camera blocking technology, that radio frequency stuff that emits.
Yeah.
So you see them in person, but they never show up on the camera because the radio frequency ends up blurring them. Right.
Maybe that's why the raccoons like shiny things. They're trying to find the thing that can break through that.
God, that is you really put that together.
Yeah.
That is very possible.
I learned from the best.
Hey, man. I just try to stay really humble. I feel like I'm a student and not a master. And so I'm always trying to learn and educate myself. I spend a lot of time on Google, and sometimes I read magazines.
Yeah.
I just consume all media, man. Like I like to consume a lot of stuff online. I go to 4chan a lot. It's just like a really good place to. I go to YouTube often. I watch a lot of YouTube videos.
I've noticed you've started training your new AI model on Reddit recently too.
Yeah. I mean, AI is basically just Reddit anyway.
Yeah.
So man, I don't know, but it's really the thing about being a teacher is watching the student become the master, and I just feel like you're on the right path, and it's really I'm really grateful to be part of that.
Yeah. It's cool. Like I got my chain with a medallion recently. I haven't graduated to the unmedallioned chain yet. That's more like that. That's the next level.
No,
It's
take your chain back out, dude.
I'll leave it out.
You know what that was? No, leave it out. Leave it out, dude. Be proud of your chain. You know what that was? What you just did?
What was that?
Chain shame. So there's been an epidemic in our world of chain shame. Justin from Wet was criticized for wearing a chain.
Yep.
On his own podcast.
Yeah.
Someone confronted him. How could they do that? It's a simple chain. And I brought my chain, and there were friends of mine like, oh, you could never get a chain. And I was like, what? Yeah. And then I talk about other people. I see them hide their chains. And what are they really doing when they're hiding their chains? They're hiding themselves. They're hiding their confidence.
Their truth.
Yeah, they're hiding their truth. They're a chain person. Like you're a chain guy now. And there's nothing wrong with being a chain guy. They make you think there's something wrong with being a chain guy so that they can control you, just like they do with peptides and everything else that helps you elevate your life. There's always going to be somebody that wants to hold you down and make you put your chain back inside your shirt. We are a chains out group here. And I've talked to a lot of the people that also have chains, and they feel the same way.
Yeah.
They feel like they're shamed in public. They're like, you look like you'd sell drugs to little kids, stuff like that. I wouldn't do that. That's bad and weird, and that's not a chain activity. Chain isn't about like doing nefarious things. That's how other people who do sell drugs to little kids and cigarettes and stuff, that's how they blame chain people. They're like, look, he's got a chain.
It's a scapegoat.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder, why is chain shame a thing? What are the people who are so against it? What's fueling that?
Yeah, I think it's envy. I think they have chain envy. I think that they have confidence envy. But it's always something internal for them, right? They're projecting. They're projecting their own inadequacies and their own feelings of weakness onto people who don't feel that way. And they show they don't feel that way by wearing their chains out, not tucked in.
Mm-hmm.
Been thinking about getting another chain. One that's so that I could be a 2 chains guy.
Yeah.
Like a thicker one that would go down here and be like a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I thought about getting a smaller one, but I don't like smaller chains.
Yeah.
I think this like 5mm model from Jackson is the best. This is a Jackson chain. It's a good everyday chain. It's like just really solid construction. It never rusts or gets damaged. I can wear it in the shower. I can wear it in the pool. I can wear it in the sauna. I can wear it to work out. It looks the same as it did 6 months ago when I bought it. It's a Jackson silver chain.
And it looks great.
Thank you.
And look how far we've come. We've gotten to, this is our 3rd episode of this new podcast. This truth telling podcast.
Well, I mean, when you're trying to bring truth to people, it's not a slow mission, man. You got to take it step by step, day by day. A lot of people aren't ready for all the truth. And you just got to kind of ease them into it over time. So,
yeah. Is there anything left on the table here as time's winding down that we need to make sure we talk about?
Man, it's really tough to go into the world of the Pleiadians because that just really encompasses not only all of modern history, but modern religion as well, modern political conspiracy theories, as well as the majority of conspiracy theories. It's really wide-ranging. So there's no way to really kind of close that off. I think that door is going to be open now forever.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it in most episodes going forward.
Yeah, probably. The same way we always talk about Harambe. So.
Yeah.
Chains out for Harambe.
Chains out for Harambe. He was one of the first to show us the way.
Oh, yeah.
We're bringing the chains.
He was protecting the children just like we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is so interesting, your point of how people think that chain people are going to be the ones hurting and giving drugs to children.
No. Why would we be the ones doing that? I don't know. Just like they thought that Harambe was going to hurt the kid.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's just, bigotry knows no bounds, and they will always try to hold you down instead of lifting you up.